Okay, as I said, Mike Flanagan here back with you. Storm 2013 Bowl Expo. We've had some great guests, and this guy here is definitely somebody I wanted to talk to. He gave me the opportunity to go out on the PBA Tour and work with Extra Frame and learn some things. And now we're here at Bowl Expo, and some exciting new news from the PBA. Geoff Reiss, welcome to the booth.
Thank you very much. You're looking very metrosexual. Is this a precondition of the new gig at Storm?
No.
That you look all kind of groomed and.
Oh boy.
I mean, come on, kind of a fancy look.
I'll
right?
tell you what, we do have a relationship. We do share some of the same interests as we learned as we worked together with some things in the PBA when I was borrowed for a while. And, the look actually is I'm normally in an office or behind a computer or laptops on my lap all the time, and I don't get out much for the sun. So these guys at Storm said we work really hard, but we play harder. So they took me out on the golf course in St. George, Utah.
Nice.
And this is the result. And I had Oakleys on, so I look like a bit of a raccoon. The facial hair thing, I normally, only shave a couple times a week because I'm running out of time. And right now you've caught me at about the end of the first segment. So I might change my look tomorrow. But
Okay.
You're not the only one to have said this.
Okay.
I actually have texts coming in right now. Don't know if it's a tan or a little makeup, but you're really looking good today. So it's so funny, actually. But,
Manly.
yeah, thanks, Louie. Thank you so much. But, yeah, I don't know if it's these white shirts, too. I think it's just, I don't know what it is.
You pop, though. You're popping.
Well,
I think it's consistent with the new positioning as kind of a corporate executive as opposed to just a kind of a guy operating on his own.
Well, you're right about that. You're right. This has been a good partnership, no doubt about it. And to be able to use that vehicle to get this job with Storm as a director of marketing, it couldn't be any better.
And we wish you the best and congratulations on that. But what do you
Appreciate
want to talk about today?
Well, first of all, we want to look at your look today.
You've got
look. You've got a beautiful checkerboard pattern on today.
I have no look. I have a look of nothing.
But you got game, Geoff. You got game.
He does.
Exactly.
Louie and I were walking back from one of these meetings we had to go to, which are hundreds of them. And
Yes, there are.
Louie and I, we love working together already. And when we were walking through, and I said, we got to stop and talk to Tom and Geoff, because you and Tom are together at these events.
You bet.
And we both, almost at the exact same time, looked at each other and said, those two are great together. You guys, when you guys walk into a room, it's like you have a plan. You guys get along well, and you're getting some things accomplished now together.
We're getting, first of all, I mean, I love working with Tom, most importantly because he is so unbelievably committed to just bowling, and it's not PBA bowling. It is to work with somebody who has the level of appreciation and ultimately respect for the game. When you're in an organization like the PBA, it is so fundamental to make sure that everything you're doing sticks. It isn't to say that you are bound by everything that has been done, but there is a very high level of expectation that we put around what we do to make sure that it lives up to the legacy and the history of what our organization is about, and having an in-house conscience. And somebody who is as mindful of the history and the players, and making sure that, and that manifests itself all kinds of ways. It manifests itself by, keeping guys like Carmen Salvino involved, keeping guys like Johnny Petraglia involved, making sure that, we don't just name an event after Mark Roth.
Sure.
We make sure Mark is there and he's throwing out the first shot, and even something as simple as, this past year when we were in Detroit launching the PBA League, that was also a nod to the fact that that the PBA, that Detroit has a long history with league bowling, and we're going to try to get it right this time.
Sure.
So Tom is a joy and an inspiration to work with.
Well, my favorite thing about Tom, I think, is on the broadcast. He loves sitting in that front row, and he's always constantly moving his legs and looking around and moving his hands, and he's whispering to you the whole time. And I know what he's doing.
We're going back and forth. The fact is, neither of us actually like sitting in that front row.
Right.
During the shows we just did in Milwaukee a couple weeks ago, we actually tag teamed because we both really wanted to be listening to the show and watching it on monitors, because as much fun as it is from our perspective, very selfish perspective, to be able to have that front row seat and be the big shot and all, What we're really interested in is what is the experience that the hundreds of thousands of people at home have watching that show. What can we be doing better? So we basically just keep, notebooks working with notes. Neither of us feel comfortable being in the production truck per se, because that really isn't, that's not for us to kind of muck around with. But, so we kind of fight back and forth. Well, you go sit and especially when you have folks attending like Terrell Owens, you want to make sure that you're showing him the respect to be there, and he's been awesome. But
and you guys rotate sometimes too.
We bounce around.
And
yeah.
I've had the fortunate experience to be at some PBA shows recently, and I get to see the tapings and stuff, and it's really a positive environment. And we're excited with Storm, by the way, at the U.S. Open. We've got some new stuff that we're going to do during that PBA show. So we're looking forward.
We're looking forward to seeing it. But this has been a big week for us. We had a big ESPN announcement day before yesterday.
Yeah, let's get into that a little bit. Tell us the nuts and bolts of this. I read Geoff Riggle's blog on 11thframe.com, which I know he reaches out to you. Yeah, he is.
Geoff is great, and he's another guy. He is interested in the good of the sport.
Right.
And he's also, for those of you who don't follow Geoff, he's been knocking down a lot of pins on his own,
he has.
which is neat too.
On the PBA 50 tour.
Absolutely. So the long and short of the new deal is that we were thrilled to be able to announce that ESPN is significantly increasing its commitment to the PBA in terms of growing our PBA schedule on ESPN that runs from November through the first weekend of December through the second weekend of April, from about 25 and a half hours to 36 hours. It means we will have 18 count them, 2-hour shows that'll be a mix of PBA Tour bowling and PBA League bowling. And there are a bunch of other things having to do with the deal. Just commitments to time schedules and ESPN1 as opposed to other networks that we could have potentially been on. The most interesting thing, or among the most interesting things, I think, for fans to take out of the deal is that these guys insisted that we do it for 5 years.
Right.
My inclination was to try to do it for 3 because I like the idea of being able to go and get another bite at the apple a couple of years from now and negotiating a renewal, and they wanted to lock us up. And what that I hope signals to the market is a couple things. One is the only reason you lock somebody up to a longer deal than a shorter deal is you think they're going to have more leverage, and you want to lock them in on the terms and the price that you got. And the second is they fundamentally like what we're doing. We have been, the PBA has been on ESPN's air since 1979, the year that ESPN launched. We are the only professional sports organization who has continually been on ESPN since the day they debuted.
That says something.
There are some college sports that have been there, but from a professional sports perspective, whether it be NASCAR or NHL or baseball or whatever, these guys kind of come and go, and we've been there all the way through. And that means a lot to us, and it was fun to find it actually meant something to them.
We're here with Geoff Reiss from the PBA. We're at Bowl Expo 2013 here at the Storm booth. Mike Flanagan. Also, Louis Wimette, and he's got a question for you, I think.
What's up, Louis?
We love the PBA. Storm loves the PBA. And,
yes, sir.
And Mike and I often talk about it. You guys are doing a great job, and the Extra Frame people are doing a great job. And the overall PBA is doing great. I do have one question, though, that I know a lot of people are asking.
Okay.
And now that you said that, there's some other options with maybe ESPN2 and ESPN3. Are they always going to stick it on Sunday against the NFL, or is there a possibility that we could go against something else that we could make a little bit more of a mark?
Well, there are two answers to that, and it's a great question. One is, it isn't always against the NFL. We have 18 2-hour windows on ESPN. 8 of those windows do compete with the National Football League. So it means 10 of those windows don't. But I want to say 2 things about that real quick. One is that the windows that don't compete with the NFL are still competing with one of the deepest and most disparate sets of sports offerings out there. So, big deal for us this year. We didn't compete against the NFL. But we competed against the Daytona 500 with Danica Patrick in the pole position. That worked out really well for us. So, there's no free pass in sports television right now. The second thing is one of the reasons we were able to get the kind of deal we wanted from ESPN is we actually do a heck of a job in that slot against the NFL. They actually value us there. We rate better than anything they've put in those windows in December and January in the last X number of years. So, the basis of being able to do good deals with folks are to be able to do deals that are mutually advantageous. Our job is really simple, right? And one of the things we've really tried to drive home throughout our organization, our job is to serve our members' interests. It's to be able to serve our fans who are watching us, whether it be on Extra Frame or home or on YouTube or wherever else. And our job is to create value for partners, because we can't ask partners, whether it's the Storm Bowling Company or ESPN, we can't ask partners for their support if we're not delivering something to them. And one of the things we deliver to ESPN is a solid number against the strongest sports property out there.
In my Jeff Riggles mode, which I'm in right now. You know the mode.
That's Louis.
The other mode.
This turned into Meet the Press.
Sure has.
Okay, shoot.
I'm not that tight on the camera shot. But the other big question is live events. We all love live events. There's action in live events. I was at every tour stop this year. We had the events in Vegas. We had the events in Detroit. We tape them. I know it works out well for you because you don't have to bring the expensive truck in all the time. But what about live events? I know people are going to be asking you about that.
We love live events, and the fact that we don't have nearly as many live events on the schedule as we would like is not a reflection of taste or preference. It's a reflection of the plain economics of it. We learned to do a couple things a little bit better this past year than we have done before. As you well know, for example, when we did a live event in Detroit, we taped shows while we were there as well. When we did a live event in Indianapolis, we taped a show when we were there. We will do something similar at the USBC Masters this year, where we will have a live event on the Sunday, but we will tape a couple shows while we were there. So we want to get more leverage out of the live events we're doing. Excuse me. We want to get more leverage out of the live events that we're doing. And second, the quickest ticket to having more live events is to grow the value of the sport. It's just that simple. The number that we do is not a reflection of our taste or our sense of the ideal. It is a reflection of the economics. And two things happen. Not just you talk about the expensive truck, and sure enough, that truck and the satellite and all that crew, all that is expensive. But the other part of that equation that's easy to overlook is the player's perspective. And if you're going to get a deep competitive field of the world's best bowlers to show up at a live event for a one-off tournament, you better have a pretty good prize fund there. So the move to as much taped as we do has had a somewhat positive after effect, which is it has made the economics of touring a lot more advantageous to players, because they're not. And the funny thing about this is, I got this job as CEO about 18 months ago or so, 19 months or so ago, thereabouts. And when I came on, I made a bunch of phone calls to a bunch of players to get their perspective on a bunch of stuff.
Right.
And I had this long, great conversation with Norm Duke. If you can't have a great conversation about bowling
Sure.
with Norm, you're doing something wrong.
Would have been like to been a fly on the wall on that phone line.
It was awesome. And at the end of it, Norm said to me, "Now listen, a lot of people are going to tell you about how great the good old days were. Now, I was there. They weren't always so great. You forget and again, I love live shows, right? But you forget when you ask players to hit the road for 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 weeks a year. And a lot of our guys, as you know, are either starting families or they have
Sure.
families. They have lives. That's a heck of a commitment to be asking for guys for them. And if you can't have a lot of money out there, this isn't NASCAR where they're taking
Sure.
the jet home in between events. It's a complicated question.
It is.
The best answer is we would love to have a lot more live. We are working to grow our sponsorship base so we can do more of that. But understand a lot of things have to change beyond just a couple things about TV production to make that work.
You and Tom Clark, we talked about it earlier. You guys have a great relationship. Tom, hopefully you'll be able to join us at some point as well. Always fun to talk to the commissioner.
Absolutely.
As he's sitting there giving you his stories about these different people, and you understand it so much better now 18 months later.
I hope so.
CEO
a little bit.
of the PBA here.
I've at
Geoff
least learned what I don't know, which
Right.
is as important sometimes as what you do know.
I have a question in regards to the sponsorships. you guys have changed companies that go out and sell the marketing
Sure.
for the PBA a few times. Most recently, Shamrock.
Mm-hmm.
How do things look in Shamrock's perspective now? Is there anything coming down the pipe, or some things that
We've got?
they've been able to
I'd like
do?
to think that we're close on 3 or 4 things right now. You know, we really, Mike, we set out about a year ago now. A little bit more than that. About 14 months ago, we set out to basically build a 3-part kind of strategic plan. Right? How do you set to turn something like the PBA around if you don't know what the freaking plan is, right? So we set out a plan that basically had 3 elements. We needed to kind of reposition the product and the perception that people had of professional bowling, both within the community of bowling and as importantly in the sports media community. The advent of the PBA League, the recruitment of 8 team owners of the caliber of guys like Chris Paul and Kevin Hart and Chris Hardwick and Terrell Owens and Billie Jean King and Jerome Bettis. So these are, if you watch the NBA Finals, you saw Jesse Williams, right? These are phenomenal guys who are doing this for nothing other really than their passion for the sport. So we needed to fix the perception of the product. We needed to fix the underlying TV economics of our deals. A year later, we've got 2 deals with CBS Sports Network and ESPN. We've grown our hours from 30 to 46. We have phenomenal distribution, the best distribution the sport has ever had outside of the days when there were only 4 channels that worked on your TV. This is the best distribution plan we have had in the modern PBA's era. And we need to fix the sponsorship base.
And you're keeping up with the Joneses with Twitter and Facebook
Absolutely.
and all that stuff.
No, Extra Frame has grown 5x in the last 2 years.
In an industry that is normally behind the times with technology, I think the PBA has done a great job with keeping up and embracing it.
Oh, no, they've done it. And I can say they because it's stuff that I've largely, inherited.
You've enhanced it. You've helped it.
I'd like to think I have. But so the point is, on the sponsorship side, I would have liked to have thought that we could have pushed the product, we could have fixed the TV economics, and sold a bunch of sponsorships kind of all together in tandem. Sure. And the reality is we needed to prove out the distribution, we needed to prove out the product before we went out and started asking people for money. Well, we asked them for it, but before they would give it to us. So we fixed those first 2 legs of the stool. We're now working on the third, and that is the one that allows us to start driving prize funds, allows us to start, getting more interesting schedules in a wider variety of areas.
Excellent.
Very nice. And, I can hear Jeff's enthusiasm. It's nice to have Tom Clark and Geoff care.
Oh,
That's what we need. We need people to care. We need people to go to bat for this sport. And you just can't do it if you're just some executive who's worried about the money. We got people who care.
I nicknamed them Tango and Cash.
Right,
and with that nickname, the cash will come.
I wish I could remember who was Tango and Cash. It's better because I think of us as Laverne and Shirley. So I have a strong preference for your description. And the fact of the matter is, we are genuinely passionate about doing this because the fact is that this is too good a sport that and there are too many people who care about it for it not to have a better set of circumstances surrounding it on the professional range. I mean, I will put what our guys do up against anybody in terms of just the quality of the sports media experience that comes out of it. When the absolute best thing about this thing is watching a guy have to make a shot. There is no ambiguity. A strike wins and 9 ties, 8 loses. There's no nuance there at all.
No.
And it's a question of, can that guy make that shot at that moment? Has he made the adjustments he needed to make? Is he going to be able to put together the right combination of mental approach, physical execution, equipment implementation or equipment choice? And it all plays out right there, and it's all on them, and it is great sports, and it's our job to try to get a larger number of people beyond just those who have passion for bowling to appreciate how great that moment is.
Hey guys, we've been talking with Geoff Reiss from the PBA. He's the CEO of the PBA. He works with Tom Clark single-handedly. They work this thing together. They're constantly together. They're trying to grow this thing. I have to run to a meeting at 4. Jeff, do you have some time to still stick around?
I have about 2 minutes as well because I also have a 4 o'clock.
Okay,
So
we're running past that time, so I wish we had more time. But it's truly an honor just to sit here
it's great to be
and
here.
talk to you.
I appreciate what you guys do. Certainly, the PBA would not be what it is without the support of both the manufacturers, but also guys like you who, prior to your becoming the man.
The man.
He's now the man. He is now, he is now part of the establishment. So, there's no more bitching about, what the man should be doing because you are the man.
Right.
So, the fact of the matter is, this is only going to work if the folks who have the ability to make it work find a way to collaborate as opposed to kind of tear each other up. And that's what we look forward to doing.
Well, we're on board. Storm's
Cool.
on board. I'm on board. Louie's on board.
We love it. As long as Louie's on
board.
if Louie's on board, we're home free.
Mike Chadwick, IT guys on board.
When Louie was on the fence about some things, I had some doubts. But now that Louie's on board, we're in good
I'll
shape.
say this. I really appreciate Storm, we pay a lot of money for the licensing, and I tell Bill this and everybody in the marketing meetings that you guys give me full access on those shows, and that helps us sell bowling balls. It really does. When I'm here and here and I'm filming here, full access, like I have a backstage pass for the PBA, which, by the way, is a dream come true for me.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate it, and I think
thanks
you're on
for
the right
saying that.
track.
We're doing our best, and I appreciate your time. Thanks, man.
Thanks. That's
Good luck
Geoff
the rest of the
Reiss.
week.
You too.